Hi there, this is Jason Dunn from Pocket PC Thoughts, and this is my review of the HP iPAQ 100 series Windows Mobile Classic PDA. So that is the full title of this handheld device. The device was a little bit hard for me to review, to be honest with you, because it lacks a phone. I actually don't own a regular cell phone. Every phone that I own is actually a Windows Mobile phone, so it was hard to use this device in sort of day-to-day use because I couldn't actually take it out and sort of be productive with it because I didn't have a phone to use alongside it. So with that caveat out of the way, I'll talk about my tests with it, how it sort of feels, how it performs, and how it does handling certain multimedia tasks. Now, it's important to understand that this device is selling for $299, which, not too coincidentally, is the same price that this device was also selling for in December of 2005. So this is the iPAQ 1950. So you can see that these two devices are very, very closely related. In fact, you could reasonably consider the iPAQ 100 series to be an upgrade from the iPAQ 1950. Both devices have 3.5-inch screens. Both devices, like I said, retail for $299. Both devices are QVGA resolution, so 320 by 240. The devices are within about 10 grams of each other, with the 1950 actually being slightly heavier by about 10 grams. The iPAQ 100 series has 64 megs of RAM, 256 megs of ROM. The big difference, though, between this device and the 1950 is the 1950 has a 300 megahertz processor, and the iPAQ 100 has a 624 megahertz processor. So a very, very fast CPU. In terms of how they feel, what's kind of interesting is that even though dimension-wise they're within a couple millimeters of each other, the 1950 actually feels a lot better in the hand, and I think it has to do just with the way that it's curved backwards at a much stronger angle. So when you're holding it, it actually feels really, really quite comfortable. I found that over and over, I can't shake the feeling that the 100 series device is just feels somewhat awkward in the hand, largely just because it's so wide. And again, which is strange because the 1950 doesn't feel that wide. I think this has a lot to do with the fact that it doesn't angle back as sharply, so at the base of your hand when you're sort of holding it, when it touches your palm, it just feels a little bit wide. So that said, you may want something that feels a little bit smaller. It does have a nice large screen. In the era of Windows Mobile devices, that have 2.8-inch screens, a 3.5-inch screen seems gigantic next to these other devices. But unfortunately, because it's only QVGA, the only net result is that everything just tends to look fairly gigantic on the screen. Now, in terms of overall performance, I could find absolutely no flaws with it. If I can get the stylus out here. Well, there we go. Maybe that's one flaw. Hard to get out stylus. The stylus is actually what I would consider to be full size, so it's really comfortable and really easy to use. The device is actually extremely snappy, moving from application to application. I had no problem at all connecting it to my wireless network with its 802.11g networking chip. In terms of memory, it has a good chunk of storage, 256 megs of storage. In use was only about 2 megs or so. So you really, well, I shouldn't say that. In use is actually bigger than this. It's using up roughly 60 megs of storage, but you have just under 200 megs usable. And then in terms of memory, you have about 30 megs of usable storage after a soft reset. So like I said, I could find no issues with the device. I loaded up an instance, I ripped a DVD, Lord of the Rings, and I'm actually just going to do a quick playback test here, although it's seeming like it doesn't want to find it. Well, it looks like we have to do the old update library to actually locate the video. Well, it's still not finding it. At any rate, I guess I'll just have to browse through here and actually use the File Explorer to locate my file so I can complete this demo. The demo gods are not shining upon me. That's interesting. So, as you can see here, we actually have no storage card showing, yet the storage card is actually inserted. So I guess I'm just going to pop out my storage card. I'll pop it back in, and hopefully the device will recognize the fact that I've inserted a storage card. Obviously, you don't want it to forget you have a storage card. There, now it's showing up. I don't know why it did that. That could be a Windows Mobile problem. It could be a problem with the HP driver. At any rate, though, I ripped Lord of the Rings to about an 800 kilobit per second WMV video file. Performance on the device is pretty good. You can see here it's taking a little bit to actually start up, and interestingly enough, it's kind of inverted. But playback was actually smooth. I didn't have any problems at all. When I loaded up the same video file on the iPAQ 1950, it was sputtering and stuttering and was having a really hard time maintaining video playback. So that 624 megahertz CPU certainly helps a lot if you're into video. But again, if this was a VGA screen, you'd have a lot more options in terms of the video quality just being a lot higher. And I also noticed too, and this is probably something that won't really be able to show up on the screen, I found that I had to kind of tilt the iPAQ back a little bit in order to see it properly. Whenever I looked at it square, kind of head on, I saw a really strong reflection, and that's not something that I've really seen with other Pocket PCs. So that was a little bit peculiar. So the reality is that this device is very capable as a PDA. It has fast CPU, it has sufficient storage, and it has enough memory to basically handle anything you throw at it. But at the $299 price point, it seems like it's overpriced, because what the reality is that this device is actually the same price as, say, an iPod Touch, the 8 gigabyte version. So now with the iPod Touch having an email application, a notes application, 8 gigs of storage, higher resolution screen, all of a sudden the sort of regular PDA is no longer really competing with itself, because most other models have integrated phones. So this particular device, I would say, competes more with an iPod Touch. On the other hand, if you need a Windows Mobile PDA for third-party application support, if there's some applications out there that you really like using, if you're looking for a relatively light and relatively small device, again keeping in mind the overall size, this is a really good solution. But again, I think that if HP were to price this at, say, the $199 price point, I think that they would probably appeal to some of those people that just want a basic PDA. Once you get up into that $299 price point, again, there's a lot more competition from devices like the iPod Touch, and certainly, there are some phones right now that people can get, even Windows Mobile smartphones that would have similar specifications to this, maybe other than the CPU, that can be had for around the $299 price point. So HP is in a bit of an awkward position here with this product. They may in fact be aiming for an enterprise market. You can see I actually pressed the button and didn't turn on, so that's maybe another little glitch. This is a pre-production unit, so maybe that's been ironed out. But as I was saying, this particular unit is sort of in an awkward position. It has competition from MP3 players that have a lot more storage. I mean, maybe if HP had put 2 or even 4 gigs of storage in this unit, because it does have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, you might be able to say, hey, this would make a really great media playback unit. But at the $299 price point, you're restricted to going out and buying your own memory cards, which of course drives up the overall price. So overall, I would say I have no complaints about this device, but the biggest issue with it is actually that it finds itself between a rock and a hard place. Without a phone and some of the high-end features in modern day smartphones, like for instance, like even having a keyboard, most people are going to prefer to have an all-in-one device that has a keyboard for messaging, and then strictly as a touchscreen device that you might use for personal information management, calendar, contacts, and media playback. Something like the iPod Touch or even the Zune has a lot more functionality in terms of being really good at being a media player. So this is Jason Dunn from Pocket PC Thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this review. Thanks for watching.